Just us.
All right, so welcome everyone. Good morning. We are very happy to be speaking with you today because we are already preparing for you to come up to the high school. I am Ms. Blackman. I'm the supervisor of guidance at James Caldwell High School. I'm going to be doing a lot of work with your current teachers and your future teachers to make sure that we are ready for you when you come in September. And I am joined by the lovely Miss Martin, so I'll let her introduce herself as well.
Hi, I'm Mrs. Martin. I am the 9th grade counselor. I only work with 9th graders. So when you come in, you'll be with me for the first year. I've been a teacher here for a long time. So I know a lot about the school. I know a lot about the teachers. And, you know, I'll tell you a little bit more about my role in the high school, you know, when we get there. I do want to say that when we do it as a webinar, because we have so many students, we are not recording your faces. Your faces are not on our screen. We also cannot hear you. So if you do have questions throughout our presentation, feel free to put them in the Q&A. We are the only ones who can see those questions. We may not have enough time to answer them at the end of the session, but we will answer them in an email that we're going to send out with some materials, okay? So if questions come up, feel free to put them in the chat for us, and like I said, we'll answer those in an email. All right, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen.
Perfect. So today we are going to start to talk with you about some of the things that we think are pretty important for you to know about James Caldwell High School, and about how we are going to start now to get ready to have you with us. So this presentation is going to focus kind of a lot on academics. It's sort of my job as the supervisor of guidance to make sure that you all prioritize being the best student that you can, but we also want to talk about sports and clubs so that you know how you can get involved here. We want to review with you how everything counts, actually starting right now for you guys, and talk a little bit about the steps that we're going to start taking with you with this meeting and over the next couple of months until when you get here in September, okay? So as I said, I talk a lot about academics. So I want to talk with you a little bit about what kinds of courses you're going to see in your schedule next year. So every 9th grader next year will take an English 9 class. Everybody will also take World Cultures, which is the 9th grade social studies class. We will make sure that we put you in the most appropriate math class next year. For all of my students who are currently in pre-algebra, you will be placed into an Algebra 1 course for next year. For all of my students who are currently in Algebra 1, we're going to place you into a geometry class for next year. The reason why there's an asterisk by geometry is because I do want to mention that there is the possibility of taking geometry honors next year. There's actually a little bit of an application process that goes into being eligible for geometry honors. So over the next couple of weeks, your Algebra 1 teacher is going to mention that to you. And if you are interested in possibly taking geometry honors, you're going to sign up with your teacher. And then there will be an assessment that we have you take that just takes a look at your math skills and what your math foundation is like. We'll look at that assessment, your current grade in your Algebra 1 class, as well as the feedback that we get from your Algebra 1 teacher. And looking at those 3 pieces together will help us determine which students will be placed into the geometry honors class, okay? Everyone was also going to get a science class in their schedule next year, taking biology, and a world language. You know that right now you have the option of Spanish or Italian at the middle school, which we certainly have up here as well for students who want to continue. Sorry about that, guys. Who want to continue with the language that they are taking, but we also offer Latin as an option, and so that is something that you can also consider. This is where you have some choice, ladies and gentlemen, in letting us know which world language you're looking to pursue. We're going to make sure that we give you health and PE in your schedule because you have to take that every year at high school. And then once we place those 6 classes into your schedule, there'll be room for 2 electives for you to take. So that's again where the choice comes in, where you let us know what are the kinds of classes that you are interested in taking and seeing in your schedule next year. Most of the classes that I have already talked about are classes that we need to make sure we get into your schedule so that you meet your graduation requirements. And we just want to make it clear over the next 4 years what we need to make sure we get into your schedule. So you will need to take 4 years of English. We'll make sure we put that into your schedule every year. 1 year of world cultures, which you will complete as a ninth grader, and then 2 years of US history. You must take 3 years of math, 3 years of science. You must take a half-year course in personal finance or economics. It's not something that you need to worry about right now. That's typically junior or senior year when students take that. You have to make sure that you get 2 years of a world language into your schedule over the course of the 4 years. I want to be clear though, that with that 2 years of a world language, it is the same world language. So you can't take 1 year of Spanish and 1 year of Italian and call it quits. You must make sure that you earn 10 credits in the same language to earn that graduation requirement. And then believe it or not, your electives actually also count towards your graduation requirements. You need to make sure that you get at least 1 year of a practical art into your schedule and 1 year of a visual or performing art into your schedule. And as I mentioned before, you will make sure that you have a PE and health class in your schedule every year because it is a 4-year graduation requirement in the state of New Jersey, okay? Oh, you're muted, Miss Martin.
I'm muted. How many times a day does that happen? So we want to talk about, give you just a little bit of a heads up of things to expect that might be a little different from maybe what you experience now, or just so you have an idea of what you're coming into, okay? So you should expect to have 6 classes each day. Now, of course, we hope that we are in our regular schedule, that we're all in the building and we're doing all of that. But regardless, you should expect that you're going to be seeing 6 of your classes each day. And you should expect that you will have homework in most, if not all of them, every single night, right? So the workload does increase as you go up in your grades. And homework does count for a lot. So it's important that it's in and that it's complete and that it's on time. Your attendance also counts. So you have to be in class every day on time. It is possible for you to lose credit in a course or for the whole year if your attendance is not good. So we have a limit to the number of classes you're allowed to miss, and we certainly wouldn't want to see you go through a whole year and then have to retake that class for attendance. So that's important to take note of. The other thing that is important to remember is that you are responsible for any work that you miss when you're out. That includes classwork and homework, right? So whether you're absent for being sick or for something else, and of course your teachers will work with you, but we just want to make sure that you have that understanding, when you come in. Another thing to expect is to get some extra help. It is very difficult for any freshman to really be successful without getting at least a little bit of extra help. And our teachers offer extra help before school, after school, sometimes during their lunch. So you should expect to see your teachers outside of your class time. When we are either way, we have peer tutoring. We have NHS students who are willing to do tutoring to help you be successful. When we're in school, we have a math lab and a writing lab where you can get help for those, with your math or your writing. We also offer Homework Helper, which is like an after-school kind of a club where you go and you get some extra help getting started on your homework, getting organized, things like that. Another thing to expect is that you're going to need to increase your skills and your abilities in time management. You might have a lot of things going on. We're about to talk about some of the really cool things that we have at the high school. So I want to make sure that you keep in mind that you're going to have a lot of things to juggle, and you're going to have to learn how to prioritize. And that's part of my job, is to help you figure out what's a priority and how to do all of the things you want to do while you're in high school.
I'm going to jump back in. I'm going to focus a little bit on academics again, and I want to talk with you about GPA. Now, GPA is probably something that's not used all that much at the middle school, but when you get to the high school, you hear students talk about it a lot. And it stands for grade point average. And we take a look at all of the grades that you've earned in your classes and calculate them all together to come up with an average. We calculate a GPA for you at the end of each marking period to help us know which students have made the honor roll. And then we calculate a cumulative GPA at the end of each year, looking at your final grades. And that helps us to see overall how your performance was for the year, and it gives us a little bit of something to compare you to your other students. Colleges are always looking at students' GPA. Now, I know it sounds crazy because I'm going to talk about your senior year and beyond when you haven't even started here yet, but when you do get to that point in time, your senior year, when you start to apply to colleges and universities, they're going to want to know what your GPA is, and they're going to be looking at information from your 9th 10th, and 11th grade year. They won't even look at your senior year just yet, which means your 9th grade GPA, that freshman year, is actually going to be 1/3 of the GPA that colleges and universities are looking at. That's a pretty hefty percentage. Now, I want to let you in on a little secret about GPA. A lot of times when I talk to freshmen or 9th graders, they say, you know, it's hard being 9th graders. All the upperclassmen, they have all the perks, they get all of the privileges. But here's where 9th graders have the best deal of any of our students in the school, and that's when it comes to GPA. Because when you come to us next year, you start fresh. You have a clean slate. And the grades that you start earning in 9th grade are what go towards your GPA. And the GPA that you set your 9th grade year really does lay the foundation for what your GPA will likely be for the remainder of your high school career. So that means that you have the opportunity now to think about, okay, how strong do I want to start off to make sure that I earn the best grades possible to earn a really solid GPA my freshman year to put me in good standing. Because I will let you know that if you don't take things so seriously and we kind of have a lower GPA your freshman year, it's really difficult to get it to jump up by a lot each year after that. So you want to make sure that you start as solid as you can. I certainly want everyone to improve along the way, but those improvements will sort of be incremental. It's really hard for you to jump up, okay? But now let me explain a little bit further. You can't come in and do a phenomenal job your freshman year and say, great, I earned 90s and above in all of my classes my freshman year like Miss Blackman told me to. I think I'm going to take the next 3 years off. Because although it's pretty hard to move your GPA by a good amount in the upwards direction, even if we start really solidly that first year, but all of a sudden we kind of take a vacation and our grades drop, unfortunately, the GPA can jump pretty far in the downward direction. So you want to make sure that you start strong your 9th grade year, set that great foundation, and then make sure that we maintain it for the years after that. Now, again, we're a school, so we focus on academics. That is not all that makes James Caldwell High School a great school. There are lots of other things that we want you to be looking at when you're here. And so Miss Martin's going to talk about some of that more fun stuff for you to look forward to.
So for some of you, sports are really important. That's a kind of part of who you are. And for some of you, you might just be interested in trying something out. So these are the fall sports that we offer. Field hockey is a new one. We do have lots of freshman teams. We have JV teams. One thing to keep in mind if you're looking to do a fall sport is that registration and all the paperwork and stuff happens over the summer. So usually around July. So if you're interested in being part of one of our teams in the fall, you need to keep an eye on that athletic page on the high school webpage to know where the forms are and what you need to get done. Right? We also have winter sports that we offer, and we have spring sports. So we have 3 seasons of sports that you can enjoy, you know, as part of your high school experience. But maybe you're not super sporty. Maybe you'd enjoy being part of clubs instead. And it doesn't have to be an either or. You can do sports and clubs. You can actually experience all of the things together. It's just, again, that time management that we talked about, right? But we have clubs that are student government. We have our yearbook and our newspaper. We have service clubs. We have honor societies. Music and performance, obviously we do our drama, we do our musical, right? You can get involved either on stage or behind the scenes in crew. And we have a lot of special interest clubs. So here's just kind of a sampling. If you're into anime, if you're interested in the environment, if you like playing video games with your friends and you want to say that you're in a club, we have the gaming club. We have a Patriot Club, we have Mock Trial, we have so many different clubs. And we always encourage students, if there's a club that you want that we don't have, you're welcome to start it. You can fill out the application, it can get approved, and you can start a club. So we actually are applying for an art club this year. One of the freshmen is trying to start a club. So we also invite you to do that and make that part of your experience. All right. We always talk about everything counts, okay? So here are all the things, right? Attendance, I talked about attendance, being here, being present, being in your classes and being at school, that counts. Academics, obviously your classwork, your homework, your tests, your quizzes, right? Clearly that counts, right? There's a numerical grade that you get for doing your academics. Your behavior inside the classroom and outside counts. We're going to talk a little bit about a little more about that in a minute. And also your involvement. By the time you get to your senior year, whatever it is you're looking forward to doing, your future depends on how well-rounded you are. You've probably heard that phrase, how multifaceted you are. Nobody wants a kid who just went to school and did school, right? If you're looking to go to college, colleges are looking at all of the things that you've done. So getting involved is certainly part of everything counts. And all of those things together lead to your success. Okay, so your attendance, your academics, your behavior, and your involvement are all important parts of the high school experience. All right, some things to think about. Here's where we talk a little bit about the behavior. Social media is a huge part of your lives, right? You're on Twitter, you're on Instagram, you're on Snapchat. Those things are really an important part of your culture and who you are and your identities. But it is important to remember that there are impacts from the things that you share on your social media, right? There's always, for every action, there's a reaction. For every action, there's a consequence. Good actions, positive actions, you get good things back. But if you're making poor choices, there are going to be negative consequences. Up at our school, we have a harassment, intimidation, and bullying specialist. Her name is Mrs. Imbriaco. She's one of our counselors. And so if you are a student and you find yourself in the situation where you're being harassed, intimidated, or bullied, you're going to bring that to somebody's attention, and we're gonna look into it, because it's our job to help you have a great experience in high school. If you are a student on the other end of that and you are harassing, intimidating, or bullying, number one, stop. Two, be a good human. Three, there might be some administrative disciplinary consequences for those behaviors. And one thing that I want students to remember is that the things you do and say have the ability to change someone's life, for better or for worse. And you're the one who decides what it is that you say and what it is that you do. And you know what kind of effect that might have on somebody's life. Okay. So just keep that in mind as you're coming up to the high school, that we're just expecting you to be a little bit more mature. Really, bad habits are really hard to break, so don't start them. Right? We want you to come in September with good habits, right? Getting extra help, going to study groups, getting a peer tutor, doing your homework, right? Prioritizing schoolwork, being well-rounded. We want you to have those good habits, because bad habits are really difficult to break. And this is kind of a Debbie Downer thing, but I feel like I have to tell you, if you fail a class, it is possible in the high school for you to fail a class, and then you would need to retake it. And it's possible for you to retake it the next year, or your parents are going to have to pay money for you to take it over this summer. And we do have students fail. Every year we have students fail a class, and they have to decide if they're going to spend the money to do it and spend their summer doing it, or they're going to take it the next year. And let me just say this, you need 4 years of English. If you don't enjoy taking one English class, you're definitely not going to want to take two in the same year. Okay, so we don't want this to happen, and we put supports in place to try to help you. But it's important for you to know that that is a consequence of actions that you choose, right? Which might be a little bit different than what you've experienced so far. All right, but here's the thing, we're all here to help you. Your teachers are invested in you. From day one, they want to see you succeed. The administration wants to help you succeed, and your counselors are here to help. When we're in school, my door is open, literally and figuratively. You can pop in, you can get help, you can email me, you can come get support, okay? I only deal with 9th graders. I mean, I talk to the other grades, but I only support 9th graders. My job is to help you go from middle school and being a middle schooler to being a high schooler, okay? We navigate all the academic, all the emotional, all the social stuff. We can do that together. And my job is to help support you in your goal of being successful in high school. But what you really want to know, I mean, we've talked a lot about this stuff, but what you really want to know is how do you get there from here, right? What is coming up? How do you make a schedule? How do you get into high school? How does this all happen? So Ms. Blackman's going to kind of lead you through what's going to happen over the next few months, all the way through September.
So we are already working with your 8th grade teachers to get information about who you are as a student, how you're doing in your classes right now, how you are performing. We're going to take that information, and that will help us to know what are the appropriate academic classes to put you in for next year: English, math, world, social studies, science, world language. Again, you will let us know what choice world language, but our teachers will help us know based upon that choice which level you should go at. That information then we'll take and we're going to present it to you. We're going to be meeting with you. Both Ms. Martin and I will be coming to the middle school in some form or another, in person, virtually. We're still working all of that out. And we're going to sit down and meet with each student individually, discuss those courses. During that meeting, the things that you will bring to us are which world language you're looking to pursue, Spanish, Italian, or Latin, and which electives you would like to see in your schedule. Now, how do you know what the options are? We're going to share some information with you. There is a program of studies that I'm going to share, which is a little booklet that lists all of the courses that 9th graders can take and a little bit of a description. We'll make it even a little bit simpler and just send you a list of what those options are. But we have art classes, we have music classes, we have woodshop classes, we have cooking classes, we have computer classes. We have a lot of options. When you sit down and meet with us, we're going to ask you what your top choices are for your electives. Now, remember, we'll have 2 periods that we need to fill. So that will typically be 2 classes. But we ask you to come prepared with at least 4 choices. And the reason is because we ask for your top choices and then we ask for backups. We need backups because although we try really hard to give everyone their first choice, it is not always possible. So we need to know what our fallbacks can be. I want to explain to you a little bit about why it might not be possible. If you come to me and say, listen, I have heard so much about those draw paint classes or ceramic classes at the high school. I know that I want to take one my freshman year. But then I find out that, guess what? That ceramics class meets at the same time as your science class. I have to give you science. So the electives are requests only. They're not guarantees. We try our best, but we cannot always make it work. What we do make sure that we do is we put everything into your schedule that you need in order to be able to graduate in 4 years. That is the guarantee that we make, okay? So that's why we ask you to come prepared with at least 4 choices so that we have some backups that we can utilize, okay? After we meet, we're going to share out that whatever we've discussed with you through the Genesis portal so that students can review it, parents can review it, and then over the summer, we're going to turn those list of classes into an actual schedule for you, okay? What else is going to happen over the summer? Well, you're going to get a summer reading assignment. I am letting you know that right now so that everyone is aware it's coming, okay? Typically, there is an assignment that goes along with your English 9 class, and you will need to read 2 books. There is always a book that the whole school reads, so we kind of come together as a community to have this shared experience of all reading the same book. And then there'll be an additional book that is special just for the 9th graders. When you come to school in September, you are going to encounter those readings. There will be assignments that you will need to complete on them, and that will be a big portion of your marking period 1 grade in your English 9 class. So we want to make sure that you start off prepared, that you don't start off either behind or with any zeros in there because you don't have those assignments. So please make sure that you read the books. We mean the real book and not the Spark Notes or the Cliff Notes. And then again, we're going to remind you that if you are looking to participate in fall sports, which we hope that that is something that a lot of you will do, that the registration deadline is actually going to take place at some point in July. And practices actually start up in mid-August. So just kind of keep that in mind as well. So those are things that you actually will be needing to work on before you even step foot in high school. Every year in September, right before school starts, we always have a freshman orientation for all of our 9th graders, where we bring you in, we review important things like how does this schedule work? Who are the important people in the building that you want to make sure that you know? At that point, your schedule will actually be set, so you'll have a time to walk around the building to be able to identify your classes. We are going to be very optimistic that when we get to next year's school year that we'll be able to have our typical schedule that students will be able to follow. So Hopefully you will be able to find out where your locker is and even practice the combination a little bit. That's just a great way for students to come in and get a little bit more familiar with the school before the first day starts. And we do want to point out exactly what, again, our normal schedule is. Classes begin at 8:05 and they end at 2:57. That 8:05 is important for you to know. That means that you need to have already been here in the school, said hello to your friends, gotten to your locker, collected all the materials you need, and gotten to your first block class by that 8:05 time. So in our house, we usually, the first couple of weeks before school starts, we start rolling back that clock and setting the alarm a little bit earlier. So it's not a bad idea to start training yourself at that new wake up time that you're going to need in order to be able to get to school on time. Not only do we keep track of attendance, but we keep track of tardies as well at the high school. So you don't want to accrue tardies to your class because that could also end up in a little bit of a consequence. So we don't want you to have to deal with that. So that's why we make sure that we put out there right now that you know exactly what to do, okay? That is, in a nutshell, kind of a lot of the important things that we wanted to make sure that we share with you so that you understand what's going to happen over the next couple of weeks, the next month, and what we're doing to prepare for you to come in September. I do want to make sure that I very much stress that we really are excited that you're going to be joining us in September, which is why we're starting this work now. We're so excited. We don't want to wait to the last minute. We want to make sure that we roll out everything so that we are as ready for you as we possibly can. We are going to send out information. We think we're going to send an email where we'll post this program. I'll make sure that I share with you the program of studies and that list of electives. And we'll also make sure that we include a little bit of questions and answers that maybe we didn't get. I'm actually going to pull that up and see if there are any that I should try to answer right now. Okay. So someone wanted to know, is world language an elective? It is not an elective because you need to make sure that you've got those 2 years in to meet the graduation requirements. Someone wants to know, on average, do GPAs drop during senior year? That's a tricky question, but I would say mostly no. Our students really do try to end as strongly as they've started. And sometimes our students even kind of kick it up a little bit of a notch and think, hey, you know what? Maybe I wasn't working as hard as I could have been all along. Let me add a little bit more effort here and see what kind of results that I can get, okay? Somebody else, I'm gonna answer one more question so that we can, and then we'll continue answering through the email that we're gonna send out. But someone asked, how many clubs are you able to join? And there's no set limit for that. There are a lot of options, and so a lot of times students would like to join multiple clubs. The only thing that we will say is just make sure that you're not overextending yourself. You want to make sure that you have all of the time that you need to devote to your classes, as well as the responsibilities that come to the clubs, in addition to any other responsibilities you have. So that's a little bit of the prioritizing that Mrs. Martin was talking about earlier. So we don't limit students. We just make sure that you are taking on things that you can certainly handle, okay? That was an incredibly quick 30 minutes. I see that it is 11:55, so I know that we need to let you move on. Again, I will say thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to your teachers and Mr. Bertolo for letting us share this time. And look for an email from us where we're going to share out all of this information so that you can make sure you review it before we come and meet with you, either in person or virtually. However, we're going to make that work in later on next month, okay? Thanks for coming, everyone. Take care, and you can head to your next class now.
Bye, guys. Thank you.